So that's a little frustrating, but here in the bottom left, the yellow player, we have Hugro. I don't know who that is. I've never heard of him. Walker in purple, who went air first. Wotan in bright green, who went vehicle first as core. And then his teammate here, Shockwave in dark green or army green, going ARM K-Bot first. And we may have missed a little bit of bombing action there. I think dark. No, who was it? Oh yeah. I think purple probably sent a bomber up here and took out a couple metal extractors. But red, surprisingly, has already built 5 defenders. I mean, this early on, 5 defenders is like that's being prepared. I mean, he was ready for that. Absolutely prepared for this contingency, and that's it's a little surprising. Yeah, it's actually a little surprising to build that many defenders early on. I mean, defenders aren't the most expensive, but I mean, you know, at the beginning, your economy is really weak. Every resource counts, you know. And purple continuing his harassment here of red's construction vehicle. So very annoying, and yeah, purple doing a good job here at the start of kind of slowing red's expansion here. Not the best bomber control I've ever seen, but also not the worst either. Probably doing a better job than I could. And he might take out this one right now. Yeah, he does take this out. He does take out that construction vehicle. So very annoying for red. He is trying to get a base up here, as you can see, and purple just making his life completely miserable with these constant bombers. Red would do himself well to maybe build some Samsons, some anti-air trucks, but at this point there's so many bombers that, yeah, they might take out all the construction vehicles. Like I said, not the best bomber control, but good enough, I suppose. All he could finish was this one defender. But let's see what else purple wants to do here. Taking out a couple more metal spots. Nice job, purple. So yeah, purple has really just made red's life miserable, and it's kind of funny because he really doesn't have much of anything. He just has a few metal spots and just these wind generators, so he's just kind of letting his team take control. And now Wotan's coming to harass red too on top of all that. So yeah, I think if I was red, I'd probably be raging a little bit myself. Defrim is the player's name. We have Z Bobbleroy in glorious pink. In blue, we have LTA Deuce, and in orange, we have Pulsor. So a lot of these players I don't really know by name, or maybe they're smurfing, or players like to change their name a lot in escalation, so it's really hard sometimes to like know who's who. But anyway, guys, I did turn the game sound down a little bit because in the last cast I was told that the sound was too horribly loud, and like I said, the point is to have an engaging cast, not a deafening cast. So anyway, overall it's been a pretty interesting start. I have introduced both teams. So it's yellow, purple, and the greens versus red, pink, blue, and orange. I'll try to remember that. It is sometimes hard to remember who is who. But, yeah. Orange did end up going air second, so that will make a difference. But, guys, this game I have decided to increase the quality even higher, so this cast should look even better than the last one. I'm just testing it out. When you guys watch this video, let me know if it's if the quality is noticeably better than the last cast, or if it's about the same. It will be a bigger file size, and I'm not even sure how big the file will be. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, both teams just kind of spamming out T1 units. And dark green with a lot of pewees here. That's probably about like 30 or so. A lot of pewees, but of course pewees aren't the tankiest unit in the world, and they will run into walls of Rockos and some freedom fighters flying overhead and whatnot. So yeah, those pewees not getting too much done. It's one difficult thing about playing in these big team games. You do want to build T1 to support your team, but also in some ways T1 spam can also be a giant waste of money because it's just hard to get much done with T1 units in these big team games because there's just so much defense. T1 is not the strongest usually against defense, and with so many players, you know, your team really has to work together very efficiently to do an effective T1 push, as in, like, all 4 players need to be building T1 and kind of attacking in unison for that to work. But as we see, or as we've seen in recent games, in team games, people don't always work together. The teamwork is not always on point. I won't hide or sugarcoat the fact that in these team games, a lot of times players that aren't that good like to play these because then there's a lot less pressure on them to perform. Team games are kind of a noob magnet. I know that's kind of a mean thing to say, but they are. 1v1s are much more of a test of skill, typically. So in team games, you're not as much pressure on any individual player. And so you do see in team games, sometimes the skill level can be kind of low, and the teamwork can be a little bit lackluster. So, you know, we may see that this game. Guys, I did turn the sound down. It may still be too loud. Hopefully not. Hopefully the game isn't too loud. I guess I could turn it down a little bit more, but right now, both teams just kind of clashing here in the middle. And there's kind of non-stop battling. But as I was saying before, you know, in this big kind of team game situation, all it takes is one player rushing to T2. And this fact, two players did both. Well, no, I guess dark green. The first rushed a T2 factory. Now he has a K-Bot lab, but you know, now he's in a very dominant position. So this is what I was saying about team games, like in the sense of, if you know, as a player, you kind of have to decide how long you want to stay on T1 because it becomes very inefficient. The first player on the other team that goes to T2 is just going to kind of, a lot of times, make your force irrelevant. And that can be really frustrating, especially if your team's not working together. Like, T1 spam pushes can work in a big team game, but like I said, you all have to be working together. And but as soon as T2 comes on the field, it just changes the whole dynamic. So, like, yeah, typically when I play these games, I just build kind of the minimal amount of T1 to, say, help my team or defend the middle, try to get a foothold on the map, and then I'll transition to T2 just because, I mean, for the reasons we're watching right now, right? These Reapers are now king of the battlefield, and they're going to easily take out all of this T1 stuff. Of course, there are some Panthers on the field, and certainly these freedom fighters are contributing their DPS to the battle. I would say the Western team should get some air defense. Purple bringing in his own fighters. But as you can see, those Reapers made short work of everything there. Of course, we do have Mavericks now. And Mavericks versus Reapers. It's hard to say. I mean, Wotan has said in the past that Reapers do beat Mavericks. But it does depend, I think, on... I think that's like in terms of cost efficiency, but if you have equal numbers of Reapers to Mavericks, I do think... Because Mavericks are more expensive. But in equal numbers, I would think that Mavericks would have an advantage. And Purple with another bombing run, but Orange there with the defense. And yeah, Purple, he'll lose everything. He won't even take out a vehicle plant. So overall, Purple not accomplishing too much with that T2 bombing run. And I do have to say, this is kind of a strange game. Typically, what you'll see on this map on Hell on Earth in a normal game or in a standard game is like the teams will just kind of build. It's almost like trench warfare. Like both teams will kind of demarcate the middle with a massive line of defense, and then it becomes really hard to kind of push one way or another because the middle becomes so infested and entrenched with endless, rows of heavy laser towers and toasters and punishers and Orions and Vipers and Dragon's Teeth and tactical missile launchers and anything else you can think of, doomsday machines, annihilators, and throw in the kitchen sink for good measure. That is how team games... that's how games usually go on this map, is there's just a ton of defense being built in the middle on both sides, and then, like I said, it kind of becomes impassable until you get to like the later stages of the game when T3 and the heavy artillery, the cavalry, starts moving in to break through those defensive lines. So that's typically how these games go, and it's also one of the reasons that these games can be boring to cast, because sometimes there's just not much going on. It's just both teams kind of ecoing up and teching up for 30 minutes, and then finally they do fight. But usually by then one team has a big advantage over the other, and they just kind of win. So this is a non-standard game here, just in terms of the fact that both teams are just kind of sending stuff at each other. There's very little defense here in the mid at all. It's just kind of a endless wave of units on both sides being crashed into one another. Like some kind of medieval combat or line warfare. What did they call it back in the 1600s when they used to have the rows of musketeers just stand in lines and shoot each other? The honorable way of fighting, no defense. Some nice air combat going on here in the middle. Nice little skirmishes there. And Red will break through here and take out that T2 factory, so kind of impressive. It's not as though the Western team didn't have enough to stop him. He just snuck through there. I mean, he just snuck through this undefended area here where the Reapers weren't, and took out that advanced construction lab. So nice job there. I don't think it will be a huge game changer, but at the very least it will set Team 1 behind a little bit. But just looking at the bases here of both teams, nothing too out of the ordinary. The airplay this game has been pretty on point. I'm impressed with that. Here, Pink's going T3 already. But yeah, a lot of times on these maps, believe it or not, on this map, you barely see air at all. Like I've seen games where it's almost like the teams have agreed not to build air. It's like ground only. And not that isn't entertaining. I mean, some people say that air ruins the game. I have heard, there are those types of players that are like, oh, air ruins the game. It's cheating. It's it's like, it's not fair to have units that don't have to have, that can just fly, and they don't have terrain obstacles. You know, what a hack, what a cheat. But no, in this game, we are seeing air being utilized by both sides, and there's been some pretty impressive fights for aerial control. You know, pink going overboard here, and also purple as well, and dark green. So both teams vying for aerial dominance, as well they should. Ooh, and purple going for T3 air. That's really nice. T3 air and escalation is one. Excuse me. It's one of the reasons I love escalation so much, is that T3 air is just disgusting. I mean, there's almost like nothing like it in any other form of total annihilation. I mean, I guess maybe to some degree. In FAF, you have the strategic bombers, and those are pretty hilarious, pretty epic. And you do. I also in FAF, I guess you have like the flying saucer. You have the what I can't even remember what the flying saucer is called now, which is horrible. What was I gonna say? You have the Seraphim bomber, the T4 bomber, the Hiawatha or whatever it is, like. It just drops nukes. It just drops nukes. It's like this massive... if you guys watch the channel update, there was pictures of them, right? They're like... the mothership-size bomber. So there is that stuff in FAF, I guess, but it's just not quite the same as in Escalation. You know, you don't see those units too much, but in Escalation... yeah, the T3 air is just obnoxiously strong. So, you know, maybe we'll get to see some of that. And, nice battle going on here. Maybe I'll turn down the sound a little bit. Uh-oh. Yeah, I don't want it to drown out the cast like last time. But, yeah, some pretty epic fights going on here in the middle, and it's hard to even say who's winning. Red is building some ambushers. One ambusher there, and Annihilator being put up as well. So at the very least, the Eastern team is investing in some defense. The Western team at this point, well, they do have a couple bulwarks, but that's about it. Like I said before, guys, let me know if the quality of this game is noticeably better than the last cast. I mean, the last cast seemed pretty good to me when I rewatched it. It seemed like most of the bitrate quality was a lot higher and it was a lot smoother. But this game may be even higher, or it may just not even be. You may not even be able to tell the difference in terms of the quality. So yeah, just let me know what you think. Let me know if it's worth recording these bigger file sizes, or if it's not much difference in terms of the actual outcome of the cast. But yeah, the Western team pinging these ambushers. Certainly, they want to take those out. Ambushers are they're quite fearsome defenses. They're like guardians on crack. So if the Western team can take these out, that would be pretty awesome. Pretty great for them. There are a lot of there's a lot of Mortys here. But yeah, the Eastern team counterattacking in turn with quite a few Zeuses and some Bulldogs as well. But they will take out those two ambushers, and this Annihilator is just getting really low too. It's a one hit. Just any stray bullet could take that out. So let's see what Purple's doing. Purple just building up his economy at this point. He's got quite a few T3 construction aircraft, so that should eventually give him the opportunity to boost his economy. And what's going on here? Just gonna check the players' bases here while there's a bit of a quiet moment. Pink is also on T3, but he's on K-Bots. Of course, it's not a super quiet moment. Yellow has built a Doomsday Machine, and he has surrounded it with these fortification walls. And I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Fortification walls will make it more survivable, but the red and green lasers, for the most part, will just hit the walls. So a lot of its DPS gets cut. In fact, most of its DPS gets cut, as opposed to surrounding it with Dragon's Teeth. Maybe if you're just using it as kind of a glorified Annihilator, it's okay to do that, to build the fortification walls. But yeah, the Eastern team's starting to push through, it seems like. As I said, the Western team doesn't have the most defense. Wotan does have some light laser towers here and one GAT. But yeah, well, he's got a couple more GATs down here, so Wotan's base isn't undefended. But just looking at the mega map here, you can kind of see it's yeah, the Eastern team is sort of collapsing on the west, and Wotan building these defilers. Now, defilers have been changed in 9.91. They're I think they were in the game before, but they operate a little differently now. And from what I can tell, if you see these blue circles, they kind of create like a blue radiation zone around enemy units that slowly drains their health in an AoE, so it can hit several units if they're kind of packed tightly together, and so they're good against clumps of units. Now, the AoE isn't really around themselves, so it's not as though they have an AoE effect around themselves. From what I can tell, they kind of radiate that AoE. They send it out as almost as if it's a weapon. So it's not in a circle around them. It's sent out. It's projected forward, and you can kind of see these blue circles all over the place. And I'm pretty sure the circles do just drain the HP of the units hit, and I do think it hits in an AoE, but it's a bit of a strange unit. It's hard to say what the exact purpose of it is exactly. But here we see Purple building an Aurora. You love to see it. And yeah, Wotan continuing to build these defilers to just try and push back this aggression from the Eastern team as long as he can. Purple now finished with his Aurora, and he will immediately go in for that bombing run. Here we go. Oh my god, Auroras are just so awesome. But wow, there's so much air defense. That Aurora really didn't stand a chance. It was well-intentioned, but there was slingshots, there was flak, there were hawks, there were tons of Jethros on the ground. I mean, there was this anti-air galore, and that Aurora did not stand a chance going down the middle like that. Perhaps some better scouting. There was probably a better avenue of attack than the one he ended up choosing there. So, yeah, I do love Auroras, and they're a lot of fun, but you know, they're not invincible, and you do have to kind of treat them like any other bomber. You have to carefully choose your plan of engagement, or your angle of engagement, angle of attack. So here we see more defilers, as I said, making those kind of projecting those AOE fields, those kind of AOE. I think they're AOE. I'm pretty sure they are. I mean, it looks like they are. It seems like they hit multiple units. So Wotan, I mean, the Western team under a lot of pressure, and the Eastern team feels like it could break through at any moment here. But yeah, Wotan doing his damnedest, and here we have Dark Green bringing in some brawlers. But here comes Orange with that Hawk counterattack, and he says, "No, the sky is mine. Get the hell out of here with your nonsense." And yeah, Orange will chase those brawlers really far. Holy crap. He's just going to end up losing all those Hawks. I don't think that was worth it. That was a bait. That was kind of a bait, in my opinion. Orange just should have taken what he could, get some kills, and then, you know, bogey on out while he still can. Flying into the base defenses of the Western team, the air defenses, maybe not the most efficient strategy in the universe, but either way, he does at least temporarily stop that brawler aggression. But now Pink coming in for his shot, and we'll get something done. Most of those brawlers are now gone, but Wotan's Defilers continuing to be a nuisance, sending out those AoE radiation fields and chunking units down. But again, yeah, it is a weird unit. Defiler is a strange unit, because they kind of have to be close, I guess, to project the radiation field, but they also don't seem to have a... I mean, they don't have a huge amount of health. So, strange unit, but Wotan certainly pumping those out like mad, trying to delay this push, and I don't know how successful it's going to be. The Eastern team really moving forward. They are slowly collapsing on the West, and Western team just kind of doing everything they can to just hold on as long as they can. But it becomes difficult when one team takes control of these metal spots in the mid. Of course, they don't have complete control. They do have a mantle extractor here and a moho here, so the Eastern team hasn't gotten complete control of the middle metal squares, but they do have map control, and they are putting the pressure. They are putting the pressure on the East team, on the West team rather. So things looking a bit dire for Wotan and his friends. But they are doing the best they can. Like I said, this is a bit of a strange game. The West team barely has any defense at all to speak of. They I mean, it's mostly them just sending units. Wotan has a couple heavy laser towers here, but that's about it. Maybe an immolator, but for the most part, they're just sending units. They're just protecting themselves with waves and waves of stuff, and it's you know, it's working okay. They haven't been broken yet. Purple in here with a Tempest, which is like the arm T3 gunship. I guess it's not really a gunship, it's more like a missile ship, but it's like a missile gunship. It can also hit air as well. It's a pretty well-rounded unit, the Tempest. I kind of think of it as a jack of all trades. It kind of can do everything, but it doesn't feel like it's great at anything. As far as T3 air goes, it's not the most impressive. I think I like Core's T3 air more because they have some of the most OP options. The what is it? Is it the Vindicator? It's like essentially like it's almost the flying saucer. It shoots the beam laser, has to fly over its target. But yeah, Orange will come in with Hawks and clean that Tempest up. So, but Wotan continuing to send these Defilers forward into the middle there, and I'm not sure about that. Like I said, Defilers don't, even though they're a T3 unit, they really don't have a massive amount of HP. Their DPS is pretty high, I guess. And like I said, I think it hits in an AoE. So I don't know if they have stealth. I don't know. Can anyone in the comments let me know? Do Defilers have some kind of stealth feature? Are they like meant to be used in a covert, sneaky way? I'm not sure about that. They kind of seem like they might. They're certainly not cloaking, but they could have radar stealth. So yeah, as you can see, hitting all these Fidos just clumped up there. That's more or less what their best stat, hitting those clumped up armies of units. And yeah, Dark Green with another bombing run, this time with some Auroras. Oh, he will take out those 2 Mega Fusions, and almost getting those fusions there, not quite though. Taking out a lab, and he's not done yet. Holy crap, this is what I love Auroras for. He's already done so much economic damage. He's going to take out some fusion reactors. Boom. He takes out 2. Can he get more? Oh my god, he just took out 6 fusion reactors, 8 fusion reactors, plus those 2 Mega Fusions or antimatter reactors. And what else can he get done? Just one Aurora doing so much damage. You love to see it. You love to see it. Holy cow. So yeah, that was absolutely a successful bombing run. Took out these 2 antimatter fusion reactors there, and took out like 8 fusions there. Fusion farm. That's crippling to the Eastern team's economy. So yeah, Dark Green's bombing run worth its weight in gold there. I mean, not Dark Green, Purple. What am I talking about? Purple's bombing run worth its... No, it was Dark Green. Wasn't it? I don't understand that, though, because Dark Green doesn't have... I don't see that Dark Green has a T3 aircraft plant. I could have swore that was Dark Green's stuff. Maybe Purple gifted him a T3 bomber. I could have swore we just saw Dark Green doing that bombing run. But I don't see that Dark Green has an actual T3 air factory. So that's what's confusing me. But I could have swore Dark Green just did that bombing run. But maybe he does have an air factory, or we just don't see it. I don't know. It doesn't matter too much. Either way, whoever was controlling those bombers, it was pretty successful. And Pink now building Novas. But yeah, that was a huge economic blow. That could be a turning point in the game. Actually, that was just such a massive economic impact on the Eastern team's economy, on their energy output. But Purple now on T4 and building a Centaur, which is a super Fido, just like a Fido on crack. So that's always interesting when players tend to go or try to go T4. And Wotan has built a Juggernaut here, so Juggernaut's very effective on defense. They're kind of slow, but defensively they are. It's like a wall. They shoot out these massive AoE shells, as you can see here, and they have a purple laser on their as the head turret. So very hard to stop Juggernauts on defense. But Red, in the meantime, with a tick the T4 crawling bomb. It's essentially a thermonuclear device on legs, so when it explodes, it kind of takes out everything in the area around it. I would say the whole screen, not really the whole screen, but on a lower resolution. Like if anyone plays on like 1024, it would definitely be the whole screen. Even 1080, like 1920 by 1080, it would be most of the screen. So yeah, we'll see what he can get done with this tick. But yeah, that could be absolutely scary. Some Novas or at least one Nova here in the back, a second Nova back here, trying to provide some supporting fire. Taking pot shots at the Juggernaut. And Red has this tick, but he's just kind of, I don't know what he's doing with it. He hasn't really moved it for a while. Maybe trying to decide what he wants to do with it. In the meantime, Dark Green massing up another aerial army here in the top left. He's got an Aurora. So yeah, it was Dark Green. I'm not losing my mind. I just don't see where his factory is, but he must have a T3 air factory somewhere. Oh, here it is. So yeah, this is his T3 air factory. That was where he built his for the last attack. But anyway, he's sending in another attack, kind of the same as last time. He's got some Phoenixes and an Aurora and some scouts in the front to give vision. But Orange is ready this time, and those Hawks are ruthlessly pursuing this Aurora. The Aurora will take out the T1 vehicle plant, and but that's about it. They were the Eastern team was much more prepared that time for that bombing run, and ultimately it did not get as much accomplished. Unfortunately, as we were watching that failed bombing run by Dark Green, we did miss what happened to the tick. I'm assuming it exploded, but don't know if it took out anything too crucial to the Western team or too catastrophic to their war effort. But yeah, in the meantime, like I said, this is a strange game. I mean, this is just not how Hell on Earth usually plays out. With just these endless waves of units being thrown at each other and virtually no defense at all on the ground. And we have a little bit, like an immolator, maybe a couple Doomsday machines, but on a map like this, like that's kind of small fry, you know. That's that much defense is you know, a couple Doomsday machines is just a given on a map like this. Typically you just see whole walls of defense, but there's just been so much scorched earth on both sides, you know, just constant waves of units. And Dark Green sending in some brawlers now. Take some pressure off the ground here. We will kill a few marauders, but yeah, there is some air defense, and those brawlers, there's really not enough of them there. We do have a Bastion in the back, and Bastions are one of the strongest defenses in the game. I've talked to Wotan. The arm equivalent to the Bastion, or it's the arm. The building that they get in place of the Bastion is Oh, I can't. The Warden, I think it's called. It's like this EMP tower, and you almost never see it. I just don't think it's that good. I guess it just kind of EMPs units. To get too close, but it doesn't have like a huge range, and it's really expensive, and like I don't know. I don't think I've ever actually seen it in any of the games I've casted. And I mean, I've talked about it in the Discord, and they've said like it was too powerful at one point, so they nerfed it. It's just hard for me to understand how the Warden could be too powerful. Like, it just paralyzes. That's it. And why do that when you can just build things that kill units? You could just build a Doomsday Machine, or you could build a Bastion, or you know, like paralyze whatever. Like that doesn't even affect most T3 and T4 units. Are like either immune to paralysis or heavily resistant to it. So I don't know. It doesn't seem that good to me. I've never seen a Warden. And I think he was supposed to buff it in like the 9.9 series, but I still haven't seen any, and it still doesn't seem good. Maybe someone in the chat can prove me wrong. Maybe someone in the chat has a different opinion about the Warden. You know, change my mind, convince me that the Warden is actually a decent defense. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it metaphorically or literally. Metaphorically, I don't see how it's a good defense, and literally, I just don't ever see anyone build them. But purple has finished a Centaur, and we've got that Super Fido entering into the fray, which will cause blue to almost immediately retreat his forces, because once T4 enters the field proper, it becomes terrifying, especially because blue is on mostly T1 and T2 here. So this stuff just isn't really going to be much of a threat against the Centaur. Another unit that I just kind of feel like is not that great are these Novas. Like, I guess I get that they're supposed to be like walking Berthas, but I don't know. Like, again, I've just never seen a Nova make much of a difference in an actual game. Like Pink has a lot of them. Like, ideally in this situation, they'd be really good because you could like crack Wotan's defenses with them, right? They're like mobile Berthas, but it just feels like they're, I don't know, like maybe their range or damage or accuracy just isn't really high enough to make them useful. That tick will explode, the Centaur taking it out almost immediately. Of course, the Centaur's DPS is extremely high, and it will melt almost anything that gets in range of its these teal lasers that it fires on its back. See that Nova just explodes almost instantly. And of course, we can't see how much health it has because T4 units don't show their health. But it does look like it's taking some damage. It's got black smoke pouring up off it. And yellow with a couple of Talos as well. But yeah, you know, Pink's built Novas this game. Just haven't seen them do that much. I mean, against T1, I guess they're pretty good. They just fired a couple shells into that like T1 and T2 army. But other than that, I'm not sure. I mean, against the Juggernaut, it doesn't feel like they do almost anything. And the Centaur is being retreated. This Juggernaut, Wotan's Juggernaut, continuing to mount an epic defense of the Western team. As I said before, Juggernaut's a very powerful defensive tool. They just are so hard to kill, and they do so much damage and a huge AoE. And yeah, they're ridiculously strong. And with the purple laser, they're also pretty good against other big like T3 units as well. It's kind of all around good. The only thing is they're pretty slow. But dark green is rebuilding the Centaur. And in the top left, he's gearing up. He's clearly gearing up for like another massive aerial assault. Purple asking him to bomb through the middle. And I don't know about that. I mean, the middle seems like the most well defended. There's so many. So the Whiplash, I think, is the T3 air defense, T3 air defense structure. And these are unbelievably strong against air. You got some slingshots, you've got flax. Yeah. So dark green did move his bomber fleet down to the bottom, like the left, the west. So he is gearing up for attack on the middle, but yeah, I don't know, man. The middle is the most well defended of their whole base, it seems to me. Of course, maybe if they can just hit a few juicy targets, it might be enough to help them break through with their ground army. You know, maybe they do just, maybe dark green can just soften them up with a good airstrike. And this Nova getting a little too close. Nova's got to be careful. They don't have the most health. They're really meant to be used in a long range capacity. Orange coming in here with brawlers. That is a lot of brawlers. And surprisingly, the Western team doesn't have much air defense in this army. Yeah. So dark green attempted to bomb through. He bombed through the middle, like I said, and his air force just evaporated almost instantly. So that's kind of what I was worried about. There's just so much air defense in the middle that, like, dark green basically did nothing there. Like, his units were dying so fast I couldn't find them. Like, I zoomed out on the mega map to see where the attack, you know, because I could hear all the flax and everything, so I knew that there was an air attack happening, but his stuff just evaporated. And Orange now moving in with these brawlers very aggressively, but he will go for Wotan's commander, but I think that's a bit optimistic. There's too much air defense here. And Raptors now on the field, but this Centaur is moving through the bottom, and this one looks to be full health. So Bulldogs and Merles just really aren't going to be that effective against this Centaur. Merles really just aren't going to hit it at all. If purple keeps moving, those Merle rockets will just never hit the Centaur. And Bulldogs, you know, they're strong, but against T4, they're just paper. They're just not. They're not really efficient. So yeah, these two Centaurs are terrifying. And red bringing through this Raptor. But Raptors are really strong. It's kind of like the late stage T3. It's the arm equivalent to the Krogoth. But even Raptors are no match for Centaurs. Like, Centaurs are just kind of the level above Raptors, right? They're kind of the next evolution, the next stage. But Orange bringing in more brawlers here. And if anything can stop these Centaurs, it would be brawlers. Brawlers have a pretty high DPS. And if you have enough of them, and they can stay alive, and the Western team doesn't look to have any air defense in this area, So those brawlers are putting out free DPS. Uncontested, they're not really being... really not much going on, but purple finally bringing in some T3 fighters, and those should take care of the brawlers, and they do. Here goes another tick, so the raptor up here in the north, and another tick. So we'll want to keep our eye on that, but yeah, the tick does explode, and I don't know why. I don't know if it got hit by something or what, but that tick just did nothing really. There was nothing. I didn't see any enemy units in its vicinity. So yeah, these centaurs still moving through, and orange is sending an endless wave of brawlers down at this centaur. And like I said, brawlers DPS is pretty high. So eventually they will kill it. I don't think the centaurs have much air defense to speak of, so if the western team doesn't react, this centaur could die to brawler fire. But purple finally responding once again. And bringing in a T3 fighter here too. But yeah, this raptor, as we can see, pretty strong against just this kind of mishmash of T1 and T2 stuff. Raptors are very impressive. So Red's force here in the north might be able to move through, but yeah. Purple moving that one centaur back, probably almost dead. And this centaur might die too if he's not careful, but oh my god, look how fast that raptor just gets chunked down by this centaur. Just melted. As we can see, like, raptors are really strong, but these centaurs just eat them alive. Raptors don't even stand a chance. It's crazy. It is crazy how strong centaurs are. Those super phytos. And this raptor continuing to move through. Another tick here. And this one mostly full health. But orange making a never-ending wave of brawlers. Try to kill these, or at least slow down these centaurs. I don't know how effective it's going to be. Red's still moving this tick through. Moving west slowly. Is it a bat? It was almost dead there, and the centaur kills it almost instantly. So even though the west team looked like they were in trouble, and they were at the brink of collapsing for most of the game, they have now regained their footing and are doing really well. This raptor, again, can't stand up to the might of the centaur. Raptors are strong, but centaurs are just on another level of power. And it's like a Frieza versus Zarbon type situation there. Just not really in the same class. And these centaurs are a huge problem. I mean, the eastern team just doesn't seem to have an answer. Sending brawler after brawler to try to kill this thing in any means necessary if they can. And oh, here comes another tick. Red has been sending ticks through the west side the whole game. But if I'm being honest, they haven't been extremely effective. They've more just been amusing. And that tick does, take out most of, what was it, Wotan's army? Or Wotan and Dark Green's army. So, that tick did take out most of the army there, but it was mostly just, T1 and T2 stuff. The real threats are these, like, this Krogoth, Centaurs, and Orange continuing to send down Brawler spam. He's committed to that game plan, and Purple now coming in for the counterattack, protecting his teammates Krogoth. And yeah, those T3 fighters, the Vertigos, those do seem to handle Brawlers and no time flat. As expected, T3 is quite strong, and T3 fighters, the air superiority units, I'm sure, are very effective at their role of taking out anything in the sky. So yeah, those Brawlers don't really stand much of a chance, and with Dark Green moving through here through the middle, and Purple with 2 Centaurs moving through the south, and then there's a Krogoth and a Juggernaut as well. The Eastern team seems to just be collapsing slowly, and they may tap out at any moment here. Once you hit T4 in escalation, sometimes that is all it takes. T4 is meant to be game ending. It is the great stalemate breaker. T4 is designed to break the unbreakable stalemates, to put an end to these long, campy macro games. But no, I mean, this game hasn't been too bad, really. I mean, as I said, it's just been non-stop action. There's barely any defense at all compared to what these maps are usually compared to how Hell on Earth is usually played. So this has been an action-packed game, and Purple now in the main base. He's in the economy of the Eastern team. And Dark Green now bringing some Auroras to add insult to injury. Another bombing run. Will he get this T3 factory? He does. And Pink working on his own Centaur. He has a Vulcan here. But wow. Orange continuing to bring down Brawlers. I mean, that is just... You have to give him points for tenacity. I mean, he's non-stop Brawlers for the past 10 minutes. That's all he's been doing. Just building Brawlers to try to take out these Centaurs. And as you can see, the Centaurs can absorb unbelievable punishment. This Centaur still alive. And yeah, Orange will tap out. I think he just left the game there. I don't think he was killed. I think he just self-destructed. I may be wrong, but either way, Orange is out of the game. All of his stuff will explode, and yeah, his teammates will follow him. Everyone seems to be leaving now, and all we have left is just Blue attempting to hold off the whole world by himself. But there's just a lot of stuff, and Blue will also tap out. So GG to the Western team. Again, that was a close game. It did feel like the Western team was crumbling there around the middle, but they do somehow hold on just by the skin of their teeth and manage to that impressive bombing run by Dark Green, taking out all those fusions near the middle of the game was just crazy. I think that was a turning point. And then once what was it, Purple? Yeah, once Purple got those Centaurs online, it was just after that it was just kind of a the writing was on the wall. It was a foregone conclusion. So Guys, I hope you enjoyed this game. And yeah, let me know in the comments about the quality, if it's any better or worse than the last cast. But otherwise, guys, I will see you in the next cast.